Honey Sound Broadcasting, an affiliate of the Bilko Media Network.
Speaking of rankings, I watched your Star Wars ranking video.
You did?
So
Yes,
you did have a
I
little
did.
spoiler at the end with my rant
So
on.
I did, I did, but honestly, I forgot it. And I kind of skipped through.
It's kind
I
of
saw
long.
where you put it. Yeah, I skipped through the Well, I skipped through a bit of it, but I especially skipped through the part where you reviewed this last movie, and I just wanted to do that real fast on my.
Oh, sure. Yeah, well, because after I saw all of them, I just felt the urge to sit down and just rank them all out and see what my opinion is. So I didn't really have any plan necessarily. I mean, I knew where I was going to rank them, but I just kind of thought about it real fast. Where am I going to put these? And let's record, as a quick little thing that I just felt compelled to do.
You were very kind. You were very sparing in a way that I will not be. So
give it to me. Give me the truth.
All right. Okay. Here's the truth. Nothing but the truth. And all right. Okay. So S through F tier. So S is the silver, the superior. A, B, C, D, F.
Is that what that S means? I didn't know what S actually meant.
S is just like one of those things that means above A, whatever.
Right.
Okay. All right. And the only one that belongs up there is New Hope, because it's the only one that has an actual self-contained, complete storyline that the characters move from one to another and have character arcs.
I believe I did the same ranking.
Yes.
I'm trying to find mine so I can watch and see what you do. But yeah, continue. So I mean, that to me is obvious that one stands hands down above all the others for
hands
whatever
down
reason.
All the others, 100%.
There are people who say Empire is better, but I personally don't see it at all. Empire,
I don't,
especially if you take it as a standalone movie, like it ain't that great.
As a standalone movie, it doesn't really work unless you've watched New Hope first. So basically Empire Strikes Back, I put at a C, and I'm gonna say this is me being harsh, all right, so, or actually I'll say that I'll be merciful. I'll give it a B. All right, it's because we have the S tier, right? So
where did I put it? I had Return at C, the C level.
Okay, so I think Return is at A, or I'm gonna say A, just because it has. Actually, no, it doesn't belong at A. It doesn't belong at A. It belongs with the Empire Strikes Back and the Return of the Jedi. The common critique of both those movies is they don't really go anywhere.
Correct.
All right. They explore the universe already created in New Hope a little bit further and flesh it out and, do some kind of, plot things. But I think that fundamentally they're kind of, they lack, real character arcs,
I mean, to me, Empire feels like an incomplete movie as a standalone. Like, it feels like there's a lot of setup, but that you don't get the grand finale. And then Return is just a mediocre movie. So I ranked them, S, B, C.
Yeah.
In that order.
Yeah, I would rank both of them as B, because they both suffer from the common thing of like the character arcs are relatively they're hit or miss, and they both don't end. Like Empire Strikes Back famously just ends with them looking out at like a picture of the galaxy, and boop, we're over. And then the Return of the Jedi ends probably like an act before it should end, because you just defeated the Emperor and the second Death Star.
You still have all those other 10,000 Star Destroyers that we are theoretically out there.
Right. So that was that. The Phantom Menace. Now we're getting to the prequels.
Okay.
Phantom Menace, F. Failure. Complete failure. Does not need to be told. It has little or no connection with the rest of any of the movies. Is completely skippable, and it doesn't have any real hold any real interest to me.
I personally like Phantom Menace, and I've always liked it. I don't know why I do. I just do. As a standalone movie, it is a true prequel in the purest sense, in that it has nothing to do with the original trilogy, but it's all like it's more like a prologue, more than anything. And that's kind of what I see it as. And people bash it, people hate this one, but I generally am okay with it.
Yeah, it introduces us to the George Lucas-y world of the prequels, where inexplicably the entire design of spaceships changes and gets way, way shittier in 40 years.
Right. Well, that's the problem with doing modern prequels, right? Like, because the way you do it, you're not gonna downgrade the technology for the sake of the movie, right? Mm-hmm. It's gonna look better 40 years in the past because the technology is better at the point where we're doing the movie. But I remember having this exact same argument in grade school. Like, why do these movies look like they have way more technology than in the future?
Yes.
You know, like you think about all the droids that are around in the prequels and their abilities. They fight their wars for them. You know, yes. And in the original trilogy, it's like you see R2-D2 and C-3PO. Like that's the extent of the droid technology.
Yes.
It doesn't match up that way. Yes, I'll completely agree with you there.
Mm-hmm. And it's dumb. I can't go on it.
I can respect your opinion there, even though I'm the opposite on that one. But yeah.
Right. Attack of the Clones. I will charitably give both Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith D's. I will give them both D's because they are not good movies. The Attack of the Clones is a very boring movie about very exciting events.
Yes.
And there are lots and lots of things where I think that, I don't know if George Lucas was planning this out, but you have to have like extra movie material to understand what's going on in the movies, which is always a big no-no for me. All right. Like, you remember General Grievous gets introduced and you have no idea who this is.
That's the last one.
Oh, it's the
Grievous. Grievous wasn't in Clones.
He wasn't in Clones?
Nope.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure. Just watched him.
Okay.
That's why, because I was confused. There was the same question. Well, who is this guy they're introducing at the very last minute? Like, he was not in Attack of the Clones.
He was not in Attack of the Clones. Okay, yeah, interesting. All right.
Dooku was the guy in the Clones.
Oh, okay. All right. So yes. So Dooku. Christopher Lee is an excellent actor, but I forgot about Count Dooku completely. So I think that
right, because you were thinking that was Grievous.
Yeah, and it's all about like the separatists versus it was very unclear what was actually happening.
Right, because Palpatine was behind it all.
Yes, Palpatine's behind it all. Well, that's very common theme. But yeah, both of these movies, the Attack of the Clones, the Revenge of the Sith, are telling. If you squint really hard, there's the outline of a very interesting story there. But it's
Attack of the Clones I agree with. Revenge of the Sith I do not agree with. I thought that was a completely boring movie. There's nothing there, in my opinion, and I ranked that enough where I agreed with you on Clones, and that got a D for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of lumping them together because I don't really remember them too much. Right. I don't distinguish them too much.
Right.
Like I said, I don't even remember what Grievous comes in, but like they go nowhere. The story of the fall of the Republic is in theory an interesting story, a very interesting story, and it was very poorly executed.
Yeah, the execution was awful.
Yes, and so that bad. And then now we're on to
the new ones, right? Force Awakens, or unless you want to do some of the side stories.
No, well, I'll just do the main ones. So The Force Awakens gets a C from me because it gets that because it's not trying to be anything more than a reboot of New Hope, and it succeeds at that. But because it's just a rehash, it's a Xerox of New Hope. All right, which then No Hope is the one I ranked as an S. So
true.
You know,
I did it in an E because probably I've seen this movie before, and I don't need this fan art, and that's all that was.
Yeah. It kind of, C initially maybe, and then maybe F in retrospect. Okay, and The Last Jedi, that's also a D for me.
I did that straight F for me.
Okay, because there are elements in The Last Jedi that are very interesting and point at, like, if they had gone in those directions, I would have been interested. The thing is, they didn't.
Such as? Because I don't know of any.
Burning all of the sacred Jedi texts.
Okay.
And
like,
and
the
Yoda
behind
and
that?
Luke.
Yeah.
Yoda and Luke being a bitter old hermit, kind of like living on the outskirts of I think primarily because Mark Hamill was in it for a good period of time, and I think Mark Hamill is a capable actor, kind of no matter what he's given. I think that he would have been able to, if he had been given more room or leeway, or the script had been more coherent or focused more on him, and especially if he had been given more of a role in what he was doing with his character. He famously said that he really did not like the way that his character was treated.
Right. So on that point, I didn't mention this in the review, but they did another double take from The Last Jedi in the new movie. Is, you remember in the very beginning where Rey shows up to the rock and she hands him his lightsaber, and Luke takes it and kind of like casually tosses it over his shoulder, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's so sacrilege! Luke would never do that." Blah blah blah. Well, Rey goes back to that planet for some reason, I forget why, but she's like burning her ship because she's like had enough, and she wants to do what Luke did, because she doesn't want to follow up on the quest that they need to go find the Exegol thing. Whatever. Anyway, so she's burning her ship, and she takes her lightsaber and tosses it into the fire. But right before it hits the flames, Ghost Luke reaches out with his hand and catches the lightsaber, and then hands it back to Rey and says, "This is your life," or something like that. "Never let this out of the sight. This is your most important tool," or something like that. Clearly a double take on trying to save face for when he casually tossed it in the previous move. But again, how they just kind of steamrolled over The Last Jedi.
just undo.
Yeah, to try to undo that whatever went down over there.
Yes. So yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking about The Force Awakens. It does occupy that weird quantum space where if you view it as a whole of the rest of the trilogy, I think it's an F. But if you're just viewing it as a standalone movie, I think that it makes it up to be a. If you had never seen a Star Wars movie ever before in your life, you could probably follow The Force Awakens and be like, "Oh, okay, that's pretty good." I
wonder what Austin would have thought of that then, because he's never seen Star Wars.
Oh, okay, interesting. He would be our perfect guy.
He would be our good test subject.
Yeah. And I think you would say that. Oh, it was a mediocre movie, but it was okay.
Yeah. I could maybe see that, but to me, it's not great all around.
Yeah. Last Jedi. Yeah, solid D. And then The Rise of Skywalker sounds like for sure F.
Now, see, I put Rise of Skywalker at D, which is above the other two, because I had Force Awakens at E, and then The Last Jedi at straight F.
What does E mean? Does E is a special category, or what?
E is above F.
Oh, okay, all right. So you went ABC. Okay.
Yeah, it's A, B, C, D, E, F. It's not like a grade, because there is no E in the grade.
Yeah.
For some strange unknown reason. But. So I put Rise of Skywalker above the other two. I don't know why, but I liked it better than the other two, even though it wasn't that great to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
It was just slightly above the others. So,
mm-hmm.
So interesting. I think we're fairly in line for the most part. I think our biggest switcheroo is the Phantom Menace. because I for some reason like it. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the only thing I ranked higher than you is like the Force Awakens, but I explained my caveats.
Correct.
To that, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, overall, not it hasn't been good. It hasn't been good.
No, and that's what doesn't make any sense because you have the best writers in the world at your disposal, and this is the garbage we get. Like it's not even thought out. It's not even thought out. If you're gonna make a 3-movie, trilogy, why would you not coordinate this thing across all the movies instead of give each individual director independent, full creative control? It makes no bloody sense because you're gonna turn it into a mess. That's what we got.
So when the Force Awakens came out, it was a very bad sign for me on the future of this trilogy.
Right, same. Like, how are you going to save this?
How are you going to save this? Because it was just a soft reboot where they kind of just... I'm going to really say the sequel trilogy doesn't really have a whole lot to do with the original trilogy.
No.
It doesn't... You
could take Luke, you could take Han, you could take Leia out of these movies. You don't lose anything. You just replace them with equivalent characters that we never heard of before.
Yes, and the only reason I was interested in the sequels, and the only reason I was interested in new Star Wars movies, when I heard they were doing the prequels, I was like, well, that's dumb. Just finish up their freaking story before everybody dies. Oh, whoops, we did the sequels, and look, all of our actors are either like super old and grouchy and don't want to do this shit anymore. Like, if you had, just think, okay, like, what if you had done these movies, the sequels, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Like,
instead of the prequels, you do the sequels.
It's like, okay, everybody's 20 years younger. You don't have to worry about, like, Carrie Fisher's, like, 30 years of cocaine abuse, like, finally catching up to her, in 1999.
Right.
Yeah, and at that point, like, these movies were concurrent with Lord of the Rings, and I refuse to believe that, like, the
quality of Lord of the Rings compared to
the same level of quality could not be done. It was just the fact that George Lucas wanted to fix it all in post, and
right.
have everybody on a green screen.
Even in the 90s, right? Star Wars was a big deal, even from the 80s, and
yes.
You had at your disposal all the resources required to make whatever movie you wanted. No budget too high, and that's what you got. Like, it just amazes me that it was so. To me, it feels like it's all phoned in. Like, nobody really tried here.
Yeah, that's
in this or the prequels.
Yeah. Well, here's what I feel about the prequels. I feel like the prequels completely phoned in, not someone's genuine attempt to make it like, a really fantastic... There's no passion there. Mm-hmm. The sequels are... If the Soviet Union made Star Wars movies, where you had just like 10,000 Disney apparatchiks all constantly getting their hands in the pie and making and getting a part of this. And when I saw The Force Awakens, and coupled with the fact that I know that Disney bought this for $4 billion, I knew it couldn't be good. I knew the sequels couldn't be good, because when you have a property that big, the only reason why A New Hope became the thing that it did was it was new, it was interesting, it was a cult hit. It was a weird, or not a cult hit, but it was a mass visual hit or whatever. But the sequels were designed by committee and part of this giant, like, billion-dollar legacy. And of course those things are going to be different when it comes to creating the story. That's a completely different environment. So
it is, but I would also argue that, like, because obviously we grew up after Star Wars. I mean, we weren't even alive when the originals came out. Mm-hmm. But when you saw A New Hope, you still generally like it.
Yes.
So it's not new and different to us. I mean, because we grew up in the 90s, right? I mean, there's other movies like this. Why does Star Wars A New Hope stand out from the rest? Because it's generally a good story, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
You just don't have that in the rest of them.
Mm-hmm. I think the editing in New Hope is the best editing of all of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah, I mean that's the epic side swipes and all that you've come to know to associate with Star Wars, and you're right. I mean, they do the best there. All the other movies either overuse it or they go in a different direction. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So just that's my very quick dirty rundown of the.
Well, very good.
All right, man.
Hopefully we're done with these Star Warses for a while now. I feel like this is like our fourth or fifth one.
Yes. Yeah. We come not
credits. Yeah.
We've come not to praise Star Wars, but to bury him.
Yes, this is a funeral. I will say, have you seen The Mandalorian at all?
I've not.
I wasn't too impressed with it. My family got Disney Plus, so I piggybacked it off of them to watch it just because everyone else was seemingly watching it, and it's definitely a slower pace than like that high action that you're used to seeing. There's no like there's no like fights in the sky, ships destroying each other. It's very slow. It has its moments, but generally I'm kind of just like meh. Like it's average to below average for me. Nothing super special, in case you were wondering. But they did announce a Obi-Wan Kenobi series, I think. It was originally going to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, but now it's going to be a series with the original Obi-Wan Kenobi actor. Not the original, but the guy from the prequels.
Oh, Ewan McGregor.
Yeah. So he's going to reprise that role, or so they say. I did see a couple weeks ago that there was a lot of ruckus going around about questions on, they're going to completely rewrite the scripts again, or they're just going to cancel it outright. And then Ian McGregor said on Twitter that no, we're going full production here. And then like the next day they said it was going to be canceled. So I don't know where that one is, but I applaud them for bringing him back to do a series. I think it's a series for Disney Plus about what his life was like on Tatooine. I think it's supposed to take place. It's like where Obi-Wan was in his current age that Ian McGregor is compared to the sequels. We're like 20 years removed, right, from that. So I think that it's going to take place 20 years before A New Hope, but after the last prequel.
I would be interested in that. I'm excited from they need to get away from the movie format.
Exactly. I think that's a good direction to take this.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So whether this happens or not, I applaud this effort. I think it could work. Hopefully it's not as bad as everything else has been, but it will certainly be interesting.
This has been a presentation of Honey Sound Broadcasting, an affiliate of the Bilko Media Network.